I'm sorry, but I cannot assist with the request as the text is not visible in your prompt. Please provide the text you would like me to assist with. Story 1. Back in school, I asked a girl to one of the dances, and 6 of her friends took turns telling me she did not want to go with me throughout the rest of the day. Some of them seemed to enjoy it. Story 2. The weirdest experience I ever had was from a woman I had been on 2 dates with. She was off on a ski trip and sent me a Dear John text saying, among other things, that she wasn't interested in something short-term. I said fine, I wasn't thinking short-term either, but if she wasn't into it, then no harm done. Apparently, this entire text chain had been curated by her and her friends on the trip as some sort of test that I failed. I was supposed to fight for our relationship after 2 dates and do some big romantic gesture to win her back. She had also apparently been talking marriage with her friends and had been planning our lives. So I guess I dodged a train-sized bullet on that one. Story 3. Super late to the party, and it wasn't a rejection as such, but a girl I had taken out a few times and I were at a relatively expensive restaurant. She couldn't find her phone, so I called it. It rang next to me, and I was saved as free dinner. Story 4. Here's one that confused me. See if any of you could make sense of it. There was this girl years ago who lived across the hall from me at my apartment complex. She was very extroverted and friendly, but I didn't read that as a sign of attraction because she was a former sorority girl and they tend to be like that. Either way, we became good friends. I took care of her once when she was sick, we'd watch movies and so on. Then one day, she texted me when she was out of town to ask if I thought she was beautiful. I said yes. For Christmas. A month later, she included a letter written to me about how much joy I bring into her life and included a kiss me coupon. All of my friends who were girls were completely sure she was crushing on me, but I remained mostly convinced she was just being overtly flirty. Either way, I decided to ask her out. When I did, she said, "What? What are you doing? Have I ever given you the slightest indication that I was into you?" I asked her about the kiss me coupon. She said that was just a friendly gift she'd give anyone. She later accused me of gaslighting her about this whole situation. It was a wild time. Story 5. Asked if she wanted to go for a drink at the weekend, and she said yes. Within 12 hours, she texted me, "I've thought about it, and I really don't want to date someone like you. It would be bad for my image." We were both 18 in sixth form, and I'm still genuinely intrigued as to what sort of effect on her image I would have had. Story 6. We set up a date. Then I drove out to meet her at a cafe of her choosing. It was at least a 30-minute drive. She ended up ghosting me. No call, no text, no show. Nothing. The coffee wasn't too bad, actually. The date was disappointing. To everyone suggesting that she might have died, I doubt it. I checked plenty of fish while I was waiting, and it showed her as online. I also looked at her profile from time to time, never messaged her, and saw her online several times after that. Story 7. When I was at high school, 14 years old, I decided to ask Louise, a girl from my class, out on a date. Unfortunately, I decided to do this at lunchtime, right after I had finished a bag of cheese and onion-flavored crisps. I sat next to her and started to talk to her. But before I even got to ask the question, she caught wind of my breath and said, and these words are tattooed on my soul, "Oh, you stink." It's been 32 years, and I still blame the crisps. Story 8. I was getting ready to hit the bars with some buddies and shaved too much of my beard off. Naturally, I decided to roll with a mustache for the night. Fast forward to the bars, and I leave my group to grab another drink. As soon as I get my drink, Jump Around comes on, and I get super pumped up. I turn around with a big smile on my face and end up making eye contact with this girl. She raises her hands up and screams, "I don't know what you want from me." I tried to explain that I just really liked the song, but she had already bolted off to what I assume was the police station. I shaved my mustache when I got home. Story 9. I had been speaking with a girl from Tinder for a few weeks. She then hit me with, "I wish someone would flirt with me. I mean properly. Not like you." Edit. For everyone saying I should have met her in person after that long, COVID-19 restrictions in my area made it almost impossible to arrange something. Story 10. Drove to Austin for a weekend with her after 2 years of talking, sharing pictures, and dating long distance, and she and her friends laughed in my face for driving down to meet her in person. Got drunk in Austin the whole weekend and didn't date again for 8 years. Story 11. During my early 20s, a friend invited me to a club, and I went. I asked a girl to dance, and she said, "No thanks, but you can dance with my friend." The girl next to her replied, annoyed, "No, you should dance with him. He asked you." Then they started to argue with each other for feeling insulted. I left them both because I already understood the situation. Basically, both girls escalated the argument over me as if I were some kind of punishment for the one who loses. Oh my gosh, I just came back from my job, and I see how this comment blew up. Thanks for the replies and support. Many of them were hilarious. Story 12. Dated very briefly, and she broke up with me in a brutal note passed to me in class. Lots of fatality in that thing, but all I remember is, "It's not me, it's you." Edit. Jesus, 1,000 upvotes for my 4th grade emotional pain. Man, 8th grade was rough. Another one broke up with me right before I had brain surgery, if that makes this better or worse. And whoa, awards. Thank you, everyone. Story 13. In 7th grade, I had a crush on this girl. So, I figured flowers and chocolates, my mom's idea, would be a good idea to bring to her house and ask her out on a date. I asked her friends if it was a good idea, and they said she would love it. My mom dropped me off at her house and watched as I went up to the door and asked her out. I rang the doorbell and her mom opened the door. Me, "Hey, is Stephanie here?" Her mom, "Oh, what is this for?" Me, "I wanted to ask your daughter out and if she would be my Valentine." Her mom, blushing and super excited about how polite and nice I was. "Oh, let me get her." A couple of minutes go by, and Stephanie comes to the door. Stephanie, ugh. Hi. Me, "Hey, Stephanie, I was told you had a crush on me, and your friends said it would be a good idea. So, would you like to be my Valentine and go to the movies this weekend?" She looks at me, smiles, laughs awkwardly, and tells me no. I looked so confused, like I just got blindsided. Before I can even say anything, she closes the door. The whole weekend I feel terrible because I thought I was going to go to a movie with her. Turns out her friends thought it would be funny to have me do the whole thing, knowing I would be rejected. Monday comes around, and I walk in, and her friends make fun of me and try to embarrass her with it. It sucked. During the first class, I wanted to just go walk in traffic. By lunchtime, it spread everywhere, and everyone knew about it. But every other girl was either saying, "Wait, why didn't you ask me out? I want to have someone come to my door and ask me to be their Valentine." Or, "Geez, Stephanie and her friends are a bunch of jerks." Literally, after that, every girl that may have had a crush on me wanted to talk to me. It backfired on Stephanie and her friends like they didn't even know. One of the teachers even heard about it and stopped me in the hallway and said next Valentine's Day I could ask her. Jokingly. That propelled me into trying to understand how to be romantic and court women. Story 14. Was not an actual rejection but was at a club and a girl and I made eye contact. After giving her a smile, she immediately turned and walked away, shaking her head. Story 15. Asked out a girl I worked with once. She just laughed. Got talking to a girl in a club. We made out and swapped numbers. We texted for a few days and agreed to go on a date. The day beforehand, she canceled, saying that the guy she liked had asked her out, so she was going to meet him instead. Yeah, they were fun. Story 16. My long-distance girlfriend just rejected the idea of moving in together because she has no space for me in her adventurous life, and she would prefer to stay long-distance with fewer visits. This feels a lot more brutal than any rejection from a stranger. Story 17. Had a girl come on to me, poured her heart out to me about how we would be a perfect match. Asked her out on a date the next day, and she replied with, "I was drunk when I said that, and I'm having regrets today." Story 18. She kissed me in the evening and was on her way to my pants, but we did not go further. She was kind of drunk, so I figured that could end badly. The next day, she told me she did not remember a thing and wouldn't have done it if she weren't that drunk. I had quite the crush on her, and since it was her birthday the next week, I already had a present for her. Not very expensive, but personal, the right in the feels type of thing. I gave it to her early since, after she rejected me, I knew we wouldn't stay friends. She cried and said she had never received a gift as great as this. And that's how it ended. I would love to convince myself that she regretted rejecting me in that moment, but let's be real, this is what happened. We stopped having contact, and her brother, who is a buddy of mine, told me she went into a clinic for alcohol addiction and later got a new guy. She is happy now from all I know, but the thought of what could have been still is quite bitter. Story 19. Not brutal, but the more entertaining ones were: 1. She turned out to be a Mormon who was already seeing someone. She got married a year later. Turned out she was interested in women. She's one of my good friends now. The whole "you're great, but I don't like guys" revelation just made us both laugh. Story 20. Mine ended up with a good ending at least. I'm making up names though, but the last name is relevant to the story, so just know it's a fake last name. I was in grade 11 and I was refereeing soccer. I met a girl from one of the teams from a different town playing that day. Let's call her Jenny Floyka. The last name was unique enough to not be common. We ended up hanging out a bit over the next few weeks, and she asked me to be her grad date. So I said yes. The day of the graduation comes. She asks me to pick her up at her friend's house. I tell her on the phone that I'm ready to go and leaving my house right then. So I drive for like 45 minutes to their town, to the place she asked me to pick her up. No answer. I don't sweat it. I assume she had to run. I go to the school. I watched the entire graduation ceremony for a school I didn't even go to and didn't know anyone. Afterwards, I find her and she's like, "Yeah, you can just go home. I'm here with another guy, so I'm already in town." I call up one of my friends. "Hey, I got ditched. It's kind of a weird story. Want to hang out? And I'm in a suit. Hope that's cool." She responds with, "Yeah, come on over. By the way, I have a friend over. Hope that's fine." So I go to her house, and her friend, let's call her Annie, is super into me from the moment she met me. Like it was very obvious. At one point in the night, she mentions she never kissed a guy before and really wanted to make out. So we did. Her friend was not around at the moment. It wasn't weird. At one point, I asked Annie what her last name is. "It's Floyka." "Wait, are you related to Jenny?" "Yeah, that's my sister." It turned into the best revenge ever because it was entirely unplanned. I had no reason to even think they were related until that moment. Screw you, Jenny. Story 21. Had been spending a bit of time with this woman over a few weeks. Biking, hiking, joining our friends for drinks, and so on. Asked her out for dinner the next week, and she said, "Yeah, that will be great." However, I think it dawned on her later that I was interested in more than just friendship, and she was like, "I'm not interested at all in a relationship right now." She was on Tinder that weekend and had a boyfriend 2 weeks later. Story 22. Ugh, if I wanted to date a pimple monster, I would go to the dermatology ward to look for a boyfriend. Seriously, you can ask me to shoot myself in the leg too. Story 23. I was on a Tinder date. It was going all right, not the best, but certainly not the worst. She said she had a place to be, so I walked her to her car at the end. I then asked her for her number for perhaps a second date. She said, "No, I don't really trust you enough for my number." And then I just stood there awkwardly until saying, "Oh, okay. I'll see you around." Then I walked away. What made this so brutal for me was my anxiety attack afterwards on the drive home. I was just thinking if I had somehow made her feel incredibly unsafe. Should I have even walked her to her car? Did I do anything wrong at all? Story 24. I asked a girl out and she said yes. During dinner, she stated she only went out with me because she wanted to go out to dinner and didn't have any money. She said I was so below her social status that she was taking a chance of damaging her reputation just by being seen in public with me, and I should be grateful for paying for her meal. I did pay the bill, but only because a friend of mine was waiting on us, and I didn't want him to get in any trouble. I did leave her at the restaurant, though. This was high school in the mid-1990s, so no cell phones. My friend said she had to walk across the street to a pay phone to call someone to get her. Story 25. I cheekily asked a girl on a dance floor once how she liked her eggs in the morning. She replied with unfertilized. Now please leave. I fell in love right there and then, but story 26. Wasn't even into the girl. I just said good morning because, manners. But anyway, she just turned around, gave the waggling finger and said, don't talk to me. You're disgusting. Story 27. We were married for 10 years with a child. I thought we were a happy family. She ran off with one of her employees 15 years younger than us, just old enough to drink. Story 28. At a club, I made a joke that made her laugh and asked her what her name was. You aren't getting it, mate. Okay, sorry. Edit. Due to Reddit being very American, this doesn't translate well. It here isn't her name, it's sex. With emphasis on you. It was more of an I'm out of your league than an I'm concerned about privacy. Hope this helps those of you who have somehow been enraged by me feeling rejected after a rejection. Story 29. I have ambition. I need someone who would fit in at a state dinner at the White House. An extrovert who can work a room. I will withhold further information as to why it was hilarious. Story 30. For me, the most brutal ones are the ones that leave me confused as hell. I've had too many instances of us talking for about a week or two, and we're hitting it off well. She thinks I'm funny, she calls me cute, and so on. Then, when the time comes, it turns out she doesn't see me that way or she doesn't know what she wants right now, and then has a boyfriend a week or two later, or suddenly she's talking to some other guy during the week or two after we started talking. Pretty much means I'm everything they want, except I'm just not attractive, and that blows, especially when they were the ones who made you think they were attracted to you. I've been told no before, only once, thank God. And I've gotten notifications that my messages are pending until she adds me as a friend, multiple times. But nothing hurts worse than them hyping you up, and it turns out that it's not like that.